Hello, viewers of Jeff and George Villaria's World Emporium. I'm Jeff and George Villaria, and I'm excited to share with you how we can expand our knowledge of the global story English language. I will discover a range of topics such as literature, history, science, and more to provide you with a well-rounded learning experience. Regardless of whether you are a beginner or experienced learner, our expertly curated videos are captivating and enlightening content to help you enhance your language proficiency. Today, I want to talk about a topic that I find fascinating: fallacies. Fallacies are errors in reasoning that can lead us to draw false conclusions. They can be found in everyday conversations, political debates, and even scientific arguments. And while they may seem harmless at first, fallacy can have serious consequences. One of the most common fallacies is the ad hominem fallacy. This occurs when someone attacks the person making an argument rather than addressing the argument itself. For example, if someone says that they believe in climate change and someone else responds by calling them a tree hugger, that is ad hominem attack. It is important to recognize that ad hominem attacks are not only unhelpful, but they also divert attention from the issue at hand. When people resort to ad hominem attacks, it suggests that they don't have strong arguments to support their position. Another common fallacy is false dilemma. This is when someone presents only two options as if they are the only possibilities, when in fact there are other alternatives. For example, if someone says that you must either support the government or be a traitor, that's a false dilemma. False dilemmas are often used as a way to manipulate people into accepting a particular position. It is important to recognize that in most cases, there are more than two options available, and we should take the time to consider them carefully. The slippery slope fallacy is also common. This occurs when someone argues that a particular action will inevitably lead to a chain of events that will have disastrous consequences. For example, if someone argues that allowing same-sex marriage will lead to people marrying animals, that's a slippery slope fallacy. Slippery slope fallacies are often used to scare people into accepting a particular position. It is important to recognize that just because one thing happens, it doesn't necessarily mean that other things will happen as a result. There are many other types of fallacies, such as the straw man fallacy, the appeal to authority fallacy, and the appeal to emotion fallacy. Appeal to belief, appeal to common practice, appeal to consequences of a belief, appeal to pity, appeal to ridicule, two wrongs make a right, relativist, burden of proof, jumping to conclusion, red herring, anecdotal, and many more. Each of these fallacies has its own specific characteristics and can be identified with careful analysis. For example, the straw man fallacy occurs when someone misrepresents their opponent's argument in order to make it easier to attack. The appeal to authority fallacy occurs when someone argues that something must be true simply because an authority figure says so. And the appeal to emotion fallacy occurs when someone uses emotional appeals to distract from the facts of the argument. By understanding fallacies, we can become better critical thinkers and avoid being misled by faulty arguments. This can be particularly important in today's world where misinformation and propaganda are becoming increasingly common. By learning to recognize fallacies, we can separate fact from fiction and make informed decisions about the issues that matter to us. Moreover, understanding fallacies can also help us to communicate more effectively with others. When we recognize fallacy in other people's arguments, we can gently and respectfully point them out and help to redirect the conversation towards more productive lines of reasoning. In addition, by avoiding fallacies in our own arguments, we can help to ensure that our points are taken seriously and that we are not dismissed as irrational or illogical. So, the next time you're in a conversation or debate, keep an eye out for fallacies, and if you're not sure if an argument is fallacious or not, don't be afraid to ask for clarification or evidence to support the claim. Remember, fallacies are not only intellectual dissonance, but they can also have serious consequences. By becoming more aware of them and learning how to avoid them, we can become more effective in our pursuit of truth and understanding. Now, it's important to note that fallacies can be subtle and not always easy to spot. They can also be intentionally used to mislead others. This is why it's important to be vigilant and to develop our critical thinking skills. We should ask ourselves questions like, does this argument make sense? And what evidence supports this claim? We should also consider the context and any potential biases or motivations of the person making the argument. It's also worth noting that fallacies can be unintentional. We all have biases and blind spots that can lead us to make flawed arguments without realizing it. This is why it's important to be open to feedback and to be willing to re-evaluate our old arguments in light of new information. By becoming more aware of fallacies and developing our critical thinking skills, we can become better equipped to navigate the complex issues of our time. We can also become more effective communicators and collaborators, able to work with others to solve problems and make informed decisions. In conclusion, fallacies are errors in reasoning that can lead us to draw false conclusions. By becoming familiar with different types of fallacies, we can become better critical thinkers and communicators. We can also become more effective at identifying and addressing flawed arguments both in our own thinking and in the arguments of others. So let's embrace the challenge of learning about fallacies and using that knowledge to navigate the world more thoughtfully and effectively. Your questions, comments, and feedback are always welcome and appreciated. So please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting and enlightening content. By hitting the notification bell, you'll be sure to never miss any of our exciting and thought-provoking episodes. Don't forget to share our channel with your friends and family who may also find our content beneficial. We are committed to providing you with high quality, well researched, and engaging content that will help you improve your English language skills and expand your knowledge.